students. Today I am going to continue the chapter Money and Credit. In previous video I explained you about the formal arrangements and informal arrangements for credit. That in formal credits we take the loans from cooperative, regional rural banks or commercial banks, whereas in informal arrangements for credit we take loans from money lenders, landlords, traders, relatives, friends, etc. Now today I am going to explain you about the Reserve Bank of India, how RBI do works for the banks. In India, RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India, supervises, regulates and control the activities of formal sector, financial institutions such as banks and cooperatives. For this purpose, RBI applies various credit control measures. RBI directs the bank to maintain a minimum percentage of their deposits as cash balance and make changes in it from time to time. Besides this, RBI takes special pains to see that commercial banks give loans not only to profit-making business enterprises, but they also meet other small credit requirements of small farmers, small scale industries and other small borrowers. In this regard, banks are required to submit report to the RBI on how much they are lending to whom and at what rate of interest. On seeing such reports, the RBI can direct the banks to amend their policies in the interest of the country. On the other hand, there is no supervising agency which can control the activities of the informal sector lenders. They charge the interest rate as high as they wish. Besides this, there is no one who can stop them to use unfair means to get their money back. Informal lenders charge much higher interest compared to formal sector lenders. The cost to the borrower of the informal sectors become much higher. And a very large part of the earnings of the borrowers is used in the repayment of loans. Only a very small amount of income is left with the borrowers which they can use for themselves. Not only that, the high interest rate also implies that sometimes the amount to be repaid becomes greater than the income of the borrower. This results in debt trap for the borrower. In this situation, people would not like to start enterprise by borrowing from the informal sector lenders. It is very much required that the share of cooperative societies and banks should increase in the total credit of the country. It will encourage farmers to grow crops and small enterprises to start new business. Now next, and informal credits in urban areas. Urban borrowers also approach formal and informal sources of credit to meet their credit requirements. The role and place of formal and informal sources is not the same for different categories of borrowers. We divide urban borrowers into 4 categories: poor households, households with few assets, well-off households, and rich households. Credit sectors of credit, while they get only 15% loans from the formal sector. On the other hand, rich households receives 90% loans from formal sectors and only 10% from informal sector. It suggests that the rich household receives loan at cheaper interest rates than the poor households. A similar pattern is found in the rural areas also. Now, more than half of the credit needs of the rural people are met by the informal sources, which charge high interests and apply unfair means. It is the need of the hour that the bank and cooperative societies should increase their lending, particularly in the rural people. It will help in reducing the dependence on the informal sources and increasing their earnings. There is a need to increase the share of formal sector lending in the total credit of the country. Besides this, it should also be taken care of that everyone in the country receives formal sector loans. At present, richer receives a much larger share from the formal sector lending, while the poor section has to depend largely on informal sources. The share of poor section should be increased in the formal sector lending, only then they can prosper. Now, next, self-help group, that is SHG. Now, we have seen that poor households are still largely dependent on informal sources of credit to meet their needs. Important reasons for this dependence are: bank branches are not present everywhere in rural India. There are large number of formalities for availing bank credits. Banks generally insist on collateral security, which rural poor are not in a position to offer. Informal money lenders know the borrower's personality and are ever ready to advance loan to the rural poor. The interest charged by them is extravagant, no record of payments is kept, and they even use muscle power to get their loan repaid. In order to overcome the difficulties mentioned above, rural poor, particularly women, have devised a new way to get money at reasonable term. They form a group of 10 to 15 members called Self-Help Group, that is SHG. All these members know each other very well and generally belong to one neighborhood. They make a saving of rupees 50 to 150 or more per member as per convenience and pool this amount. Members can take loan from this pool at affordable rate of interest. If the group is regular in its saving, it can approach a bank for availing a loan. Banks do sanction loans in the name of SHG, which is used to generate employment amongst members. Small loans are provided to the members of group for meeting their needs like buying seeds, fertilizers, raw materials, etc. They can also purchase assets like sewing machine, cycle rickshaw, etc. All the members of the group take joint decisions like savings and activities to be taken up by loan amount. It is the group which is responsible for making repayment to the bank. The formation of SHGs has opened doors for self-employment to the poor who were earlier denied loan by banks for want of collaterals. The concept has gone a long way in reshaping the lives of the poor who had hardly enough to make both ends meet. Now you have to write question and answer in your fair copy. Why are the poor households still dependent on informal sources of credit? How does RBI of India supervises the functioning of the banks? What are the self-help groups? How do they work?